Welcome back, everybody. I want to thank everyone who came to the book fair and helped to make it a success again this year. All of the profits get used to buy more print and digital books for you guys. And now I need you to fasten your seatbelts because I've got a lot of books to share with you this week. Before we get started though, just take a few seconds to grab a pencil and a piece of paper so you can jot down some titles. Hi everybody. This week I want to reintroduce you to a perfect pick called Nightmares. The main character is a 12-year-old boy named Charlie whose mom died and whose dad has remarried. Charlie now has several problems. First of all, his dad married a woman named Charlotte, and Charlie is sure she's a witch. He hates her and calls her the step monster instead of stepmother. Next, his family's had to move into Charlotte's purple mansion, the creepiest place in town. And finally, he can't remember the last time he was able to sleep without horrible nightmares. He can't even take a nap. He and his friends end up having to stop the nightmares from taking over their town before it's too late. This was a fun read. It's scary, but not too scary, and full of surprises. I think you'll like it. And now for the reason I wanted to remind you about nightmares. We have the sequel called The Sleepwalker Tonic. In this second installment of the series, Charlie can't shake the feeling that something strange is happening in his town. His stepmother's herb shop used to be one of the busiest stores in Cypress Creek. Now her customers are heading to another town called Orville Falls for their herbal remedies. Even weirder, though, that other town is suddenly filled with people who look like zombies. Rumor has it that no one is sleeping in Orville Falls, and Charlie knows what that means. Things are getting freaky again. This is a series that you really have to read in order for it to make sense, so be sure you read the purple one first. If you're a fan of the Beautiful Creatures series, you'll be excited to know that we're starting a brand new series by Cami Garcia called The Legion. In the first book, the main character is a girl named Kennedy who says, "I never believed in ghosts until one tried to kill me." When she finds her mother dead, she doesn't realize that paranormal forces are responsible. Not until identical twins, Jared and Lucas Lockhart, I bet they're just cute, don't you, break into her room and destroy a deadly spirit sent to kill her. Kennedy learns that her mother's death was no accident, and now she has to take her place in the Legion of the Black Dove, a secret society of ghost hunters formed to protect the world from a vengeful demon. I think that once you start reading this series, you'll definitely be hooked. And now we have a message from Book Bunch member Cameron.
Immerse yourself in the world of legend. Sometime in the future, June and Day have no reason to cross paths, but when an unlikely event happens, June has no choice but to track down Day. This book is a perfect pick, and I recommend this book because I found myself never wanting to put it down.
Speaking of series, this week I'm releasing the third and final installment in the Morpheus Road series. It's called The Blood, and it's a heart-pounding conclusion to this amazing interdimensional adventure. I don't want to include any spoilers, but I can tell you that this book, like the first two, is full of non-stop twists and surprises. If you want to start the series, be sure you begin with this one, Morpheus Road, The Light. Then follow up with Morpheus Road, The Black, before moving on to the final book. Far, Far Away is a wonderful book that I absolutely loved. I even purchased a personal copy for myself, and I'm reading it again. It's like a modern-day fairy tale which involves the ghost of Jacob Grimm, a very interesting main character named Jeremy Johnson Johnson, and a small town called Never Better. To be honest, I've delayed releasing this book for ages because I just couldn't decide how to tell you about it. It's a mixture of many different genres, and the author does an amazing job of weaving together the threads of the story so that it becomes something you want to read again and again. This book was originally published for adults, but it also happens to be one of those rare titles that works for young adults too. I would say that you need to be a good reader who likes a story that's more like a 5-course meal you can savor and not just a bag of potato chips you can snack on without thinking. It's a book meant to be experienced, not just read. It's a brand new member of the Perfect Picks collection, and I hope you like it as much as I do. Here's a review by Book Bunch member Brandon.
Have you ever thought you were invisible? Well, in the book Things Not Seen, Bobby Phillips is really invisible. Bobby wakes up and notices that he's invisible. His dad, a scientist, can't think of what happened to his son. Well, I can tell you this book is a perfect pick, so this book shouldn't be invisible if you just look.
I keep neglecting to tell you about some of the great ebooks we have, so shame on me. In some cases, we also have a print version of the ebook, and 12 Minutes to Midnight is one example. I read this a few weeks ago, and it was definitely interesting. It's set in Victorian London, and the plot centers on a mysterious phenomenon which is occurring every night at exactly 12 minutes to midnight in the London insane asylum called Bedlam. Every night at that time, the inmates of the madhouse begin desperately writing weird and incoherent rambling stuff that nobody can make any sense of. The heroine of our story, Penelope Tredwell, is a feisty 13-year-old orphan who's very rich and who runs a best-selling magazine called The Penny Dreadful. Nobody knows that she's the real author of all the spine-tingling tales she publishes each week. Both of these plots come together in a creepy and definitely original mystery that is also the first book in a series. If you're interested in reading it, please remember that we have it in both print and ebook format. The Girl and the Seven Thieves is also a book that we have in print and ebook form. And the great news is that even though I only have one print copy, we have unlimited ebook copies, so everybody can check this out if they want to. It's part of a series called Twice Told Tales. Once or twice upon a time, a girl named Era had it all. A fancy apartment, a rich father, people to drive her anywhere she wanted to go. In this retelling of Snow White, Era has a stepmother who is as wicked as could be. Era's stepmother sends her out and tries to have her killed, but Era finds 7 thieves who are willing to help her. This is a fast read, and I think you'll enjoy both the story and the terrific illustrations. Another area I keep neglecting when I do my book talks is the graphic collection. I don't mean I never share new graphic novels with you, but I think there are lots of titles in the collection that you may not have noticed. For instance, we have a really good selection of nonfiction titles. Detective work with Ballistics describes 3 cases in which ballistics experts analyze guns and bullets found at crime scenes. A 19th century burglary investigation, a 1991 double murder, and a 2004 case that shows how laser-tipped dowels fit into bullet holes can reveal where shots originated. Race Car Drivers describes the history of car racing and the different types of racing, provides advice on becoming a race car driver, and tells the stories of 3 different drivers. Astronauts is a graphic novel that describes astronaut training and what it's like to live in space, provides advice on becoming an astronaut, and tells the stories of 3 real-life astronauts, Yuri Gagarin, Thomas Jones, and Dr. Jerry Leininger. Fighter Pilots is also a graphic novel, and it describes the history of fighter pilots and fighter jets, provides advice on how you can become a fighter pilot, and tells the story of the war experiences of several real-life fighter pilots. Speaking of series again, we've been working on a huge project which we hope will make finding books easier for you. Mrs. Rowe has been marking the series books with numbers so that you can easily tell that they are series books in the first place and which book comes in which order. So please pay attention to the numbers on the spines of the books and don't get books 3 and 4 until you've read books 1 and 2. Boom! The only exception we're making is for books that clearly say what number they are, like these examples from the Enemy series. We're not putting stickers on them if they already say book 1, 2, 3, or whatever. Lesson for life: you should always be alert when you're choosing your books. By now, most of you have heard my warnings about not reading a book with a dog on the cover, but many of you just keep doing it anyway. I keep telling you, the dog is either going to die or there's going to be some kind of tragedy. It's so bad that we even have to include a tissue with every copy. This once happy-go-lucky young man, against all my advice, took 3 dog books home in one weekend. I'm not sure if he'll ever recover. Students, don't let this happen to you. Read books with cats on the cover, wolves, anything. Just stay away from the dogs. In case you missed it, I've eliminated all of the 1-week checkouts in the library. Everything in the library is a 2-week checkout, including graphic novels and magazines. I hope that will make it a little bit easier for everyone to keep up with when their stuff is due.